Okay, so hello, Niamh.
Uh,
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
And thank you so much for offering to share your stories. Your story. This is so powerful for many people. Were you one of these people who watched any recovery stories to begin with?
No, this whole world was completely new to me when I came into it.
Ah, well done. Right, that's great. But I do know that quite a few people, when they come into it, they say, "I want to be one of your recovery stories."
Oh,
As
well, I'm honoured. Thank
their
you.
aims. So this I know will help so many people.
Mm.
So I know, okay, let's start first of all with how this all began for you.
So I had debilitating abdominal pain for years when I was a teenager, like really bad periods. I was also really depressed, really anxious. And finally in 2018, I got diagnosed with endometriosis through a laparoscopy.
Mm-hmm.
But the pain wasn't going away. I was on painkillers for years, and they took the diagnosis away from after a second laparoscopy in 2021.
Wow.
Um, and it was really
Reason.
confusing. I was going in and out of surgeries and scans and appointments and stuff, and people saying, "Oh, well, you have got this, or you can have it, but you don't." And no one knew what they were talking about. I'm getting internal scans, external scans, and I just got really sick of it. I was like on really strong painkillers for 8 years, and I felt like rubbish. And I just thought I should follow a more holistic route.
And I think at that point, there's so much, with so much confusion and fear about what it is, that, as you now know, will ramp up the symptoms anyway.
Absolutely, and I didn't realize because obviously when it started, it was just, oh, it hurts a bit, and
Yeah.
then it got to the point where I was taking these really strong painkillers 4 times a day, and I
Mm.
there was one period of time where I couldn't get out of bed for 3 months, and I was about 22,
Wow.
which was insane. And I think you feed that pain that you have, but you
Yeah.
don't realize it, especially at that point when you're just in.
Yes.
They're telling you, it's during COVID, you're vulnerable. You have to have this, you have to have that. I don't know. I'm 21.
Yeah. And there
So,
was so much fear around during that time anyway, wasn't there?
yeah. And
Yeah.
it's something that you feel you have to explain to other people, oh, I might not be able to do this because I've got this chronic pain, but I
Yes.
don't know what it is.
Yeah.
So, I'm losing jobs left, right, and centre, and I can't do the things I want to do, and it was exhausting. So yeah, I
And
kind of grew
not
up with a holistic upbringing anyway, and just thought I need to find something else, anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. So not the life you were wanting to live anyway, but
No,
it's on you for deciding to take the bullet between your teeth and to take responsibility for this and see how you could find a way out.
yeah.
So how did that go?
I also just want to say that just because this worked for me or has so far, this process,
Mhm.
doesn't mean that endometriosis isn't a very real and very awful chronic pain. Um,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
there's a lot of things in my life that mean that diagnosis may have been minor and then meant that the pain I was having was built up trauma, etc. But there are some people that I know that have endometriosis, and it's absolutely just not ruined their lives, but it's had a huge impact. So my experience is
Absolutely.
not at all to just say that you can fix it with this. It's,
Absolutely. And all I would say is it can certainly help because we all
yeah,
have emotions. And if there's any linked past trauma as well, we know that that this work can help with many people with
mm,
endometriosis. But like you say, we're not saying that just because you've recovered, everybody can.
yeah.
It's everybody else's own journey. So
Your last question.
yeah. So the last question was, how did you go about finding a more holistic approach? What was that journey like?
It was completely by accident. I was doing a lot of festival work, a lot of like heavy lifting, walking around bar work, long hours in the
Mhm.
fields, and I'd hurt my neck, my back was aching, I had this like kind of constant pain in my foot, when you walk and it feels spiky. Thought
Yeah.
I need a massage.
Mm.
And I don't want to come out smelling like a Victoria's Secret shop. So I need to, if I find something that's holistic, they'll probably use something nice. So I Googled, like I was in Leeds holistic massage, and Shaheen Jaffary came up, and I thought, yeah, she seems great. I'll go and see her. And when
Great.
I
So
went
now,
for my appointment,
sorry to
honestly, the whole thing
interrupt.
was
Sorry to
just
interrupt, but I just want
no.
to point out this is unusual. Well, maybe not quite so unusual, but certainly in the success stories I've done, many people have really gone round and round and round. and understood about this work before they then worked with a separate practitioner. Whereas you're saying you went to Shaheen for her professional work. She does massage,
reflexology.
Yeah. And then you came across this. So that's interesting. Wonderful. So yes, go on then.
Yeah, the whole thing just seemed really serendipitous. We spoke about the pain I was experiencing. She kind of asked questions, background questions, like,
yeah,
I can't really remember now. And she said, oh, I do this course. Would you be interested? And after chatting to her for a bit, I thought, yeah, sounds all right. Give it a go. And we did a free introductory video call. It was about an hour. I cried the whole time. Oh. I didn't remember the last time I felt so heard. It was just,
wonderful.
I needed the endometriosis, chronic pain, the anxiety, the depression, the way I was thinking about myself. Like I was so down. And that doesn't even begin to describe it. I was at the lowest point I've probably been for years. And I'd met her, and it was just, that whole thing. I'm crying now. I'm talking about it. It was, it was just meant to be, I guess.
Yes. Yeah.
So, that's how I kind of started that journey. It brought everything that I've been questioning together in one place, really, rather than just going, I'll deal with this bit and then this bit. It kind of...
And that's really where the medical world takes us, doesn't it? Go and see the gynecologist, go and see all these different specialists, rather than realising actually they're probably all together, put them all together, and then let's look at the links, the triggers, and the underlying causes. Yeah. Wonderful. So how did your work with Shaheen go?
It was incredibly difficult to start with. As I said, I cried the whole way through the introductory call because I actually cried all the time. I was so overwhelmed and so strongly in fight or flight. My nervous system was completely shot that I really struggled to kind of understand how to feel my feelings. It's something I believed in, like a holistic way of, your mind and your emotions can affect how you feel in the body. It was something that I understood.
Yeah.
I was so open to it. But then I got to it and I realised I really didn't understand.
And I'm going to stop you at that point.
Sorry.
No. I want to hear it, but I want to also make a point for people listening as well, that is so common. And people come to me and say, I've read every book, I've done every course, I know this. And I say to them, this is not an intellectual exercise. It's all very well understanding it consciously, but this is a lot deeper, isn't it? And it's then embodying it and really starting to recognize these patterns, these emotions, these feelings, sensations, etc. So wonderful. Sorry, carry on.
No, I think there is always that little part of you as well that's comfortable with what you're doing, and you don't have to just go, right, this is what I'm going to do now. I'm going to, I need to watch how I think about things. I need to watch how I speak to myself. Not only do that, but also actually do it, and kind of remove that little inner voice going, oh, but it's hard. Oh, but I don't want to. Like, it's embarrassing getting up in the morning and going, you look beautiful, we're going to have a wonderful day. And I said it like that because I was so negative. I didn't want to do that. I felt silly lying on my bed for 5 minutes breathing. What am I doing? But it worked. You have to push through that little bit that goes, I can't do this. This is silly.
Yes.
Because honestly, one day I just woke up and realised that I hadn't experienced abdominal pain for weeks. I hadn't had any of those tension headaches. My back didn't hurt. My foot didn't hurt. I couldn't remember when it stopped. And I would wake up and go, today's going to be a great day. And if someone said something negative, I'd go, oh, but what about this? And it would be a positive thing.
Yeah.
And it just happened. I did the things that I was not told to do, but I did the tools that I learned. I was journaling and doing somatic tracking and breath work and all these other, And one day it just clicked.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. And that again just shows that it is about repeatedly doing things. It's like you don't go on a diet and expect to lose weight, lose all your weight within a week. You don't go to the gym and expect to be, getting really strong, again, within a few sessions of going to the gym. And again, with this, it's about repeatedly doing things. And, it's, as you know, it's not just about positive self-talk, is it? But those things help. And if we're also dealing with the underlying issues, like being able to emotionally express how we're feeling and acknowledging things, then it's actually just trying to retrain the brain from going down that negative route all the time, isn't it? So that takes time. How long does it take to change a habit? That varies depending on which.
It can take years. You don't have. I mean, obviously, for a habit to become, well, no, for something to become a habit, they say something like 27 days. But
that was the old research. Then it said 60 days, and I bet you it says there's.
Yeah, and when it comes to something that's emotional, that's something that's so, you know, intrinsic to your own being, maybe for, you know, years, then you're not going to do that every day. You're going to have days where you get up and go, no, I feel crap. Well, I'm not doing that. I'm staying in bed, and it hurts, and you can't make me fix it. And you might have a week of that, and then you get back on into doing it, and you maybe do one thing or just a couple of them, and eventually they all kind of blend together, and you end up.
And then it becomes natural, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's not something that, I've got to do this and I've got to do that, or, you know, put things in order or whatever. It just becomes much more natural. And like you say, you can pick them up, drop them. But what I have found is that it's almost like they're not dormant neural circuits. So they're dormant there. And some people who have had setbacks have basically had setbacks because they've gone back to their old ways of always putting others first, pushing through, trying to get through everything, not taking breaks, thinking negatively to themselves all the time. And then, yes, things can pop up again. But it's about recognizing, okay, yes, because I'm not doing any self-care, or not enough self-care, no self-compassion. And then it's about changing that again. And those are actually really good learning opportunities. It's not, you know, that, oh no, I've had a relapse. I hate that word. It's more about you've just had symptoms coming back, and actually it's a learning opportunity to reinforce those other neural circuits again. So
I don't think it's worth berating ourselves when we already feel bad enough.
Absolutely. So how has life changed? Actually, I want to just read something that you sent to me, and you said, the way I see myself and the world has completely transformed, and I'm so grateful for the guidance to become someone I always knew I could be. That sends a tingle down me. That's so wonderful.
I really questioned whether or not to write that, because it does sound a little bit culty.
Oh, no.
You don't understand. But I think it is true, and I never thought I'd be the kind of person that would say something like that. My relationships have completely transformed, and the way that I see myself and the way I hold myself is completely different. And I won't deny the fact that I went through quite a big emotional trauma at the end of last year, like a really big one. But because of the tools I'd learned and the support I'd had and the way I'd learned to look at myself, I don't think it tipped me over the edge in the way that it might have in the past.
Yeah.
Which is why I think I've come back so much stronger.
Yes.
So yeah, but like I've close relationships that, you know, had been more than negative for years are now better than civil. We're getting on really well because of the way I can communicate. And like I was such an angry teenager, and I was so anxious. I would worry about what everyone's thinking, but I don't think about what I'm saying, and I would kind of bite back and make myself bigger because I didn't know what to do. And I don't do that anymore. I mean, I stopped doing that a few years ago, but I really just kind of slow myself down and explain eloquently what I am feeling, while also acknowledging the fact that my actions might have, you know, hurt somebody else or created this situation. So I think that's the thing that's been the most powerful for me, because I've always been good at saying nice things about other people, but I've not always been good at not saying bad things.
And I think it just goes to show that how when we work on ourselves, we can then impact the world around us and our relationships as well. Yeah. Fabulous. That's so wonderful. So is there anything you'd like to share before we finish? Anything more that you feel you'd like to share with people that might be listening?
I think, especially I don't know what your general demographic or audience is, but I consider myself a young person at 27.
Yes.
I was a very sad child, just as a person, was just intrinsically sad. I always thought sad thoughts and was very anxious and very depressed. And I just thought that's who I was and how I was. And when I first met Shaheen, I was saying, you know, I've had therapy, but that's just who I am. I'm just sad. Like, I will always think negative things. And I never considered that actually I wasn't just sad. And actually, it's because I will not cry. I was telling myself these things, and I was seeing the world through a lens that I'd created myself. And there's always, sad and anxious and horrible things to think, but there doesn't have to be the whole theme of your thoughts. It can just be, oh, well, it's a crappy day, but yeah, I can sit on the sofa all day. Not just that, oh, it's a crappy day. And it's so cheesy. I feel so cheesy saying it, but it's true.
Oh, it's so powerful, Niamh. I think people who are on this journey as well, I think this is going to be so helpful for them. And you're just giving people insights and recognizing, yes, that they can change and beginning to understand why you were who you were. Having worked with Shaheen and really just understanding that can be so helpful to then know that, yes, you can change. But no, this is wonderful. Congratulations. This is.
And I want to massively plug Shaheen because she was absolutely incredible and I couldn't have asked for anyone better. So if you're in the Leeds area, I highly recommend getting some reflexology from her.
Oh, yes. Do you know what? I always keep thinking I need to travel over to her and have some reflexology.
You have to. Everyone has to go. Love you, Shaheen. Thank you.
Lovely. Well, thank you very much, Niamh. And I'm sure it's very helpful. Okay, so I'm just going to stop recording.